Hey, Washington Commanders fan, get ready for an analysis that's going to shock you because you're about to discover which players could be traded this offseason and surprising moves that could completely change the face of our team, but it doesn't stop there. We're going to dive into a potential trade involving Quan Martin that could be beneficial for us, reveal why a Pro Bowl player might be on borrowed time in Washington, and understand why the latest candidate for defensive coordinator would be a disappointing hire that would take us nowhere. And of course, don't forget to leave a like. It's just a click, it's quick, and it's all I ask. The Washington Commanders have some serious problems on defense that need to be addressed this offseason, and as a fan, I know we can't stick with the same lineup. Some solutions may lie in strengthening the secondary, and a trade could be the best way forward to get the needed resources. Pro Football Focus columnist Bradley Locker suggests that Quan Martin could be a trade candidate this offseason, and that's a possibility that needs to be considered. The issues with Washington's defense, already mentioned, were especially evident in the secondary, where the Commanders finished the year ranked 31st in PFF's coverage rating. As general manager Adam Peters looks for reinforcements, Martin's position may be at risk, wrote Locker. As a fan who watched every game, I can confirm our secondary was a total disaster this season. The former second-round draft pick hasn't lived up to expectations at the professional level, receiving an overall grade of 57.8 and a coverage grade of 38.6 from PFF. This year, Martin allowed the highest passer rating when targeted with 151.8 at the position, as well as giving up the seventh highest amount of yards, allowing 468 yards. These numbers are simply unacceptable for a player who was drafted so early. The Commanders have the fifth most cap space, and players like Kevin Byard, Ardarius Washington, and others may be targets in the free agency market. In turn, the 25-year-old player could end up playing for another franchise, Locker continued. Trading Martin could make sense for the Commanders in several ways, and I will explain why. Martin, selected in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft, has one more year on his contract with the team. The Commanders may attempt to re-sign him after the 2026 season, but there's also the possibility he might explore other options outside the nation's capital, acting as a free agent. To ensure that the Commanders receive something in return for Martin, Washington may want to get ahead and try to negotiate him before the start of next season. This was the approach taken by the Commanders with running back Brian Robinson Jr., who was traded to the San Francisco 49ers during the training period, and the strategy worked well. It's possible that general manager Adam Peters will adopt the same strategy for Martin that he used with Robinson, maximizing the return before the player's value declines further. The Commanders do not need to trade Martin, who has shown signs of growth since joining the team, but a deal in this regard is certainly possible. And now, get ready for an even more shocking revelation. You're going to find out why a Pro Bowl player could be traded in a surprising move that few expected, and how that would dramatically impact our defensive line. A year has passed since the Washington Commanders appeared in the NFC Championship, and since then, things have only worsened for our team. The Commanders finished the 2025 season with a record of 5-12, placing them third in the NFC East, a brutal fall. After yet another tough season, Pro Football Focus columnist Bradley Locker suggested that the team might trade veteran defensive tackle Darren Payne, and that would be a bombshell. The Commanders are a team under great pressure in 2026 following a 5-12 campaign last season. Washington needs to improve its defense as it ranked 31st in EPA per play allowed, which could include trading Payne on the defensive line, Locker wrote. As a fan, this possibility leaves me torn between the need for change and the attachment to a veteran player. The veteran player from Washington has been underperforming lately, playing 3 consecutive seasons with an overall PFF grade below 61.5, which is concerning. Payne has had specific problems against the run game, as his PFF grade of 44.9 for run defense places him 25th among 32 qualified defensive tackles since 2024. Moreover, his pass rush success rate has not exceeded 7.7% since 2023. Tied for 10th in annual average value rankings for the position, Payne is not living up to his lucrative contract. Now at 28 years old and a free agent after next season, the Commanders could reduce their salary cap and look for younger reinforcements, Locker continued. Payne may be available for trade, and that would completely change the dynamics of our defense. 28-year-old Payne is one of the oldest players on the Commanders roster and has a rich history with the franchise. He was the franchise's first pick in the 2018 draft, coming from the University of Alabama, and has been a pillar of the defense since then, but perhaps it is time to move on. Last season, Payne played in 15 games, recording 3 sacks and a total of 46 tackles. It was the first time Payne missed a game since the 2019 season, his second year in the league, which shows his durability over the years. Considering that Payne is entering the final year of his contract, the Commanders may want to find a way to trade him if he decides to leave in free agency. The Commanders could also negotiate a new deal with him, but given his age and the fact that Johnny Newton, a third-year professional, continues to develop, it may make sense for Washington to part ways with him. And now, to wrap up, Get ready for a devastating analysis of the latest candidate for defensive coordinator. You'll understand why this would be a disappointing hire that wouldn't take us anywhere, and why we need to aim higher if we want to get back to the playoffs. The Washington Commanders' search for a new defensive coordinator continues, and we, the fans, are left wondering where the team will turn next in search of a solution. They have lost Brian Flores, who decided to stay with the Minnesota Vikings, but they have interviewed other heavyweight candidates who could make a difference. The Commanders may be eyeing candidates like Raheem Morris and Carl Scott, but the search goes on in the meantime. Dan Quinn has just added another name to the list, and the hire wouldn't be as impactful as one might imagine or hope. The Commanders will interview Teryl Austin for the defensive coordinator position, and this news has not excited me at all. As the Commanders wait for other dominoes to fall, they have added a new name that we hadn't heard before, the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Teryl Austin. The Steelers are undergoing drastic changes following Mike Tomlin's departure after 19 seasons, and it's likely that Austin won't be retained by the new head coach, and rightly so. When one thinks of the Steelers' defense, one thinks of an elite unit, but that hasn't been the case lately with Austin as defensive coordinator. The defense ranked 23rd in 2022 and 2023, 17th in 2024, and fell to 20th in the last season. The Commanders should not hire Teryl Austin by any means, in my opinion as a fan. Austin has a lot of experience, which Quinn certainly values, but it would be a hire that wouldn't make much of a difference, and the Commanders roster has a drastically worse defense than the Steelers. I reached out to Rob Gregson, a reporter for A to Z Sports Pittsburgh, to get his take on Austin, and he agrees it wouldn't be a good choice. The Pittsburgh Steelers had many good players during Teryl Austin's time as defensive coordinator. In fact, they had potential Hall of Famers like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, along with several Pro Bowlers and All-Pros. Still, every year there were questions about the defensive performance. Coverage mistakes, poor communication, and simply bad execution were constant, Gregson said. And there seemed to be annual doubts regarding the defense against the run. And while Austin was there, the team could never efficiently cover tight ends. It seemed like any improvement in that unit only happened when Mike Tomlin stepped in and imposed his style on that side of the field. That shouldn't happen with a competent defensive coordinator, Gregson continued, and this analysis deeply concerns me. The Commanders need to hit a home run with this hiring, and Austin would be a terrible choice that wouldn't get us anywhere. Don't expect much improvement if he is the one chosen, because the results in Pittsburgh clearly show his limitations. To me, the next defensive coordinator needs to be Carl Scott, Al Harris, or perhaps Jonathan Gannon, and anything below that will be a complete failure that could cost Dan Quinn his job. So, fan, after hearing about the potential trades of Quan Martin and Darren Payne and understanding why Teryl Austin would be a disappointing hire for defensive coordinator, which of these situations worries you the most? Do you believe we should really trade Payne, a veteran who has been a cornerstone of our defense for years, or should we give him another chance with a new defensive coordinator? And more importantly, do you trust that Dan Quinn won't make the mistake of hiring Austin? Or do you think we are doomed to another frustrating season with mediocre decisions? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think about the future of the Washington Commanders.